What if you have been wrong about money? Not in the small way, the surface way, of budgets and investments and market predictions. Those are merely the ripples. I mean wrong in the fundamental, architectural way. What if money is not a thing out there, not a resource to be mined from a resistant world, not a reward given by a capricious system for obedience or grit? What if it is something far more intimate, far more powerful, and entirely terrifyingly obedient? Imagine, for a moment, walking through a city at night. You see the glow of banks, the scrolling tickers, the elegant storefronts, the quiet hum of luxury vehicles. The world appears to be built upon this substance, this thing called capital. It seems solid, immutable, a landscape of its own. But now let your perception soften. Let the solid lights bleed into streaks of color. Listen not to the sounds of commerce, but to the silence beneath them. What you are witnessing is not a reality, but a shadow. A magnificent, detailed, persuasively solid shadow cast by a single unified source, consciousness. Money is a shadow of consciousness. It has no reality apart from the mind that perceives it. It is a symbol, a consensus hallucination of staggering utility, and it moves not according to its own laws, but according to the prevailing assumptions of the minds that hold it. Your relationship with money is not an economic contract. It is a psychological state, externalized. Your wealth, your lack, your flow, your block, these are not events happening to you. They are echoes. They are the precise mathematical projection of your inner accepted concept of self. This is the first and only territory you must ever conquer, the inner landscape from which the shadow of wealth is cast. You do not chase a shadow, you move the light, and the light is your I am. We are beginning here at the root with the dissolution of scarcity. Scarcity is not a condition of the world. It is a condition of a mind that believes in separation, in limitation, in a self that is here and a source that is there. It is the faint, persistent hum of not enough. It is the quiet, background anxiety that flavors decisions, the calculation before the coffee, the hesitation before the subscription, the low-grade dread of an unexpected bill. It is the identity of the petitioner, forever asking a distant universe for a favor. That identity is a fiction, a persistent, convincing, and painful fiction. But it is a fiction you have consented to wear. Today, we dissolve its authority. Feel into your body as you sit here now. Where does lack reside? Is it a tightness in the solar plexus? A shallowness in the breath? A weight on the shoulders? That sensation is not a financial report. It is a thought made flesh. It is the embodiment of a story of streams that dry up, of opportunities missed, of a pie that must be fought over for the smallest slice. That story writes itself onto your nervous system, and your nervous system, in turn, projects a world that confirms the story's truth. You see evidence everywhere, and so you feel the feeling more deeply, and so you see more evidence. The loop is perfect, airtight, and hellish. Break the lens. The only thing required to occupy the territory of wealth is to first occupy the state of the one for whom wealth is natural, constant, and expanding. The state of absolute solvency. Solvency is not merely a balance sheet entry. It is a feeling tone. It is the unshakable knowing that your source is within and that it is infinite, immediate, and responsive. It is the knowledge that any need, any desire is already met at the level of imagination, and that the world is merely a slow-motion camera developing that picture. Do not ask how. How is the prison of the old man? The how is engineered by the state itself. Your only task is to occupy the end in imagination with all the sensory vividness you possess. The end is the feeling of financial freedom accomplished. Not freedom coming, but freedom done. What does that feel like? It is not excitement. Excitement is a peak that anticipates a valley. It is a profound, resonant quiet, a stillness. It is the absence of all internal noise about money. It is the deletion of the question how from your mental vocabulary. It is walking through that city at night, seeing the same lights, the same tickers, the same storefronts, and knowing, with a calm that bones understand, that it is all your inheritance. Not to own literally, but to draw upon without strain. The world is not a competitor. It is a harvest. You are not here to attract wealth. You are here to assume the consciousness of wealth and let the shadow rearrange itself accordingly. This assumption begins with a ruthless revision of your past and present. Every memory of lack, every story of struggle, is not a truth to be carried. It is a thread in the old garment you are shedding. In your imagination, revise it. Rewrite the script. See the loan being granted effortlessly. Feel the contract being signed with a calm hand. Hear the bank manager's voice confirming the line of credit, not as a surprise, but as a foregone conclusion. Do this not to change the past, but to change you. To drain the old stories of their emotional charge, to sterilize the seeds of scarcity so they can no longer bear fruit. Your bank account is a landscape you own, but first you must own the mind that projects the landscape. The numbers are simply echoes of a psychological frequency. You cannot hold a frequency of struggle and demand an echo of ease. It is a violation of the law. The law is impersonal. It gives you always, only, the manifestation of your dominant state. So tonight, as you lie in the boundary between waking and sleep, construct a scene. Not a scene of getting, but a scene of having. Let it be simple, mundane, undeniable. Perhaps it is the feeling of the cool linen pillowcase against your cheek, and in that feeling is the knowing that every bill is paid, every obligation met, and capital is flowing in silent, massive streams into the reservoirs of your life. Perhaps it is the momentary glance at a financial dashboard on a screen, seeing numbers so high they are abstract, feeling not thrill but boredom with the fact of such abundance. Feel the reality of that moment, the keyboard under your fingers, the light from the monitor, the quiet hum of the machine. Fall asleep in that feeling. That feeling is the solvent that dissolves scarcity. You are not entering a game of chance. You are taking your rightful seat at the table of a game you designed. The dice are your assumptions. They are always loaded. The only question is, loaded for which outcome? Scarcity is a ghost. It lives only in the echo chambers of unexamined thought. Stop feeding the ghost. Turn your attention, with a discipline that feels like love, to the living fact of your own fulfilled desire. Wear it as your inner garment. Walk in it. Breathe it. Let it be the only truth you acknowledge. The shadow has no choice but to follow the light. The territory of wealth is empty, and it is waiting for you to occupy it. It is not a future event. It is a present state, unrecognized. Recognize it. The dissolution begins now, not when you see the money, but when you see yourself as the source from which all money flows. Forget the number. The number is a ghost. It is an abstraction, a notation for something that cannot be contained by digits. What we are after is the substance, the tangible reality of it in your nervous system, in the quiet of your bones, in the very air you move through. We are moving from the concept of wealth to the concrete, sensory experience of it. This is where the state anchors itself, not in thought, but in flesh and feeling. Close your eyes, not to dream of yachts or towers, but to feel the fundamental atmosphere of a life underpinned by massive capital. What is the texture of that life? It is not, as the myths would have it, a constant carnival of adrenaline and acquisition. That is the hunger of the newly rich, the echo of scarcity dressed in gold. No. The sensory reality of true financial power is paradoxically defined more by absences than by presences. First, the silence. Listen to the soundscape of your mind when the concept of debt is a historical footnote, not a present participant. It is a deep, ringing quiet in the center of your head. The white noise of low-grade anxiety, the hum of what if, the static of how will I, has been switched off. Permanently. In its place is a spaciousness, a clarity of mental bandwidth you had forgotten you possessed. This silence is the most luxurious sound in the world. It is the sound of absolute solvency. It is the auditory signature of a mind that knows, at the cellular level, that all needs are met before they even arise. This silence is not empty, it is potent. It is the space from which creation, not reaction, is born. Now, feel the weight in your body. Not a burden, but a grounding. It is the specific gravity of security. Your feet on the floor feel different. There is a sureness, a solidity to your stance, as if you are connected to the bedrock of the earth itself. Your shoulders do not carry the invisible weight of obligation. They are simply joints that allow for movement and ease. Your breath is slow, deep, and automatic, rising from the diaphragm without hitch or hurry. This is the physiology of ownership. The body of wealth does not lean forward in hunger. It rests back in possession. It is the body of a king in his own castle, not a merchant in a bazaar. Now, engage the tactile. Run your fingers across the surface of your phone. See in your mind's eye with shocking clarity the interface of your banking application. Do not see a number, feel the coolness of the screen. See the clean, minimalist design, the elegant typography. Tap to refresh. There is no heartbeat of anticipation, no clench of hope or fear. There is only the observation of fact. The data presented is as emotionally charged as the weather report for a day when you have no plans to go outside. It is information, not identity. This is the coolness of high-balance existence. It is not coldness, but a lack of fever. The digital display of liquid wealth is met with the same emotional response as checking the time. It is a tool, a gauge, not a god. Walk through your home. The light falls differently. It is not illuminating objects you owe payments on. It is revealing a landscape you own utterly. Every object feels settled. It is not a possession that possesses you back with worry. The chair is just a chair, exquisitely comfortable, because you're not calculating its cost per sit. The food in your kitchen is simply nourishment, its quality a given, because the question, "Can I afford this?" has been erased from the script. This is the sensory payoff of financial power, the liberation of things from the taint of anxiety. The world becomes literal again. A rose is a rose is a rose. Its beauty is not filtered through the prism of price. Consider time. Feel the stretch of your day. There are no compartments labeled obligation and freedom. There is only life, fluid and self-directed. Appointments are chosen, not endured. The clock is a compass, not a taskmaster. This expansiveness of time is the most visceral proof of wealth. You feel it in the slow sip of morning coffee, in the unrushed conversation, in the ability to follow a thought down a rabbit hole for an entire afternoon simply because it interests you. This is the temporal architecture of the wealthy mind, wide, open, and undefended. Now, project this sensory reality outward. You enter a restaurant. The menu has no prices, not because it is hidden, but because your gaze simply does not seek them. The selection is made on desire alone, on the poetry of the ingredients. The taste of the food is purer, sharper, because it is unadulterated by the subconscious relief of getting a good deal or the pang of splurging. The transaction that concludes the meal is a meaningless formality, a whisper in the background of a profound sensory experience. The hand that signs is calm. The pen leaves no sweat on the paper. This is the embodiment. This is how the state wears itself into the world. It is not about buying more, it is about experiencing fully. The vibration of scarcity makes everything taste faintly of ash, feel thinly of strain. The vibration of wealth saturates reality with a richness of detail, a depth of sensation. The leather of a car seat is not a status symbol, it is a symphony of texture and smell. The view from a window is not an investment perk, it is a living painting that changes with the light. Your assignment is not to fantasize about objects, but to practice the sensations of the state that would naturally have them. Sit now and feel the silence of a debt-free life. Feel the cool, smooth glass of the screen that shows a balance of irrelevant magnitude. Feel the unclenched jaw, the deep breath, the heavy, sure weight of your body in the chair, utterly supported. Wear these sensations like a second skin. This is your reality. The external world is on a delay, but it is coming to match this frequency. The shadow is catching up, but you must live in the substance, not the silhouette. The sensory reality is the reality. Everything else is just paperwork. The world is made of words, not the words spoken into the air, but the words whispered in the sacred silent theater of the mind. This endless flowing stream, this inner speech, is the architect of your reality. It is the constant, low-level programming that instructs the deeper mind on what to objectify. To change your state, you must first change this dialogue. The inner speech of the wealthy is not a braggadocio of numbers. It is a quiet, pervasive grammar of possession and natural authority. Listen now to the soundtrack of a mind habituated to lack. It is a conversation of questions, of limitations, of separation. Can I afford it? Is this in the budget? I'll wait for a sale. That's for other people. Money is so hard to come by. I need to be careful. Each phrase, however practical it seems, is an incantation. It is a spell that reinforces a world of barriers, of negotiation, of a self on the outside looking in. It is the syntax of the petitioner. Now let us erase that script and write the new one. The inner speech of the one who commands market dominance and operates from absolute solvency is unrecognizable to the old man. It is not louder, it is quieter. It is not more complex, it is devastatingly simple. It operates from the end. Its primary tense is the present, not the future of I will, but the current fact of I am. The foundational phrase, the bedrock of this new grammar is, it is mine. Not I want it, not I hope to get it. It is mine. Feel the tectonic shift in consciousness that this simple statement commands. It does not beg the universe, it informs the universe. It is not a request to a foreign power. It is a memo from headquarters to a subordinate. It is mine implies the transaction is already complete in the only reality that matters, the realm of assumption. The physical manifestation is a triviality, a footnote. From this core statement flows an entirely new vocabulary. The questioning, hesitant language evaporates. In its place is the language of recognition and natural sequence. This is the way. Of course, naturally, that aligns. Next. There is no drama in acquisition. Seeing a desired object, a desired opportunity, the inner speech is not one of yearning, but of simple recognition, as one would recognize one's own coat in a closet. Ah, there it is. The feeling tone is one of a puzzle piece clicking into place, not a prize being wrestled from the world. This mind holds a conversation with the market itself, and the dialogue is one of command, not petition. It does not say, I hope the market favors me today. It declares, the market reflects my assumptions. It observes trends and movements, not with the anxiety of a gambler, but with the detached curiosity of a gardener observing weather patterns. It knows the garden will grow because the seeds, assumptions, are already planted and fertile. When others see volatility, this inner speech says, movement creates opportunity. When others see risk, it says, I define the terms. The language of cost is replaced by the language of value and exchange. The thought is never, this is expensive, but rather, this is worth it, or more fundamentally, this is nothing. The concept of expensive is a judgment born of a consciousness of limitation. When the inner well is experienced as infinite, the price tag ceases to be a measure of depletion and becomes merely a point of data in a transfer of energy. The transaction is an afterthought. The inner speech at the moment of exchange is one of total neutrality, or even boredom. Let's conclude this. Crucially, the inner speech of wealth is profoundly still about gratitude, but a gratitude of a different order. It is not the desperate, future-oriented, thank you in advance for what I hope to receive. It is the present moment, all-encompassing thank you, spoken as a continuous breath for the reality that already is. It is the gratitude of the owner walking his land, not the hope of the peasant praying for rain. It is a gratitude that confirms and seals the state. Thank you for the perfect, endless flow. Thank you for the clarity of this decision. Thank you for this reality. Your practice now is to become the vigilant editor of your own inner narrative. You must catch the old, servile phrases and revoke their citizenship in your mind. When you hear, I can't afford that, you stop the reel. You do not merely reverse it to, I can afford that. For that is often a lie the conscious mind rejects. You go to the end. You feel the state of having the desire fulfilled, and from that state you allow the natural inner speech to arise. It might be silence. It might be, it is done. It might be a simple sensory immersion in the enjoyment of the thing. Construct inner conversations that imply the reality you wish to inhabit. In the theater of your mind, have a dialogue with a confidant. Hear yourself saying, calmly, the capital required for the venture presented itself quite naturally. Feel the truth of that statement as you imagine saying it. Hear your friend's voice replying, of course it did, it always does for you. Let that echo in your mind, it always does for me. This is not affirmations shouted against a wall of doubt. This is the natural, flowing dialogue from within the state itself. You are not repeating words to become wealthy. You are speaking as the wealthy version of you already speaks, from the mansion of your fulfilled desire. The words are the proof of the residence. The inner speech is the engine of the state. It is the continuous, persuasive argument you make to your deepest self about the nature of your reality. Argue for limitation, and the subconscious will engineer a world of limits with the precision of a master craftsman. Argue for financial freedom as a present fact, with the quiet, casual authority of one discussing the weather, and the subconscious will mobilize all the forces of mind and matter to produce the evidence. The world is your conversation with yourself, objectified. Change the conversation. Let it be a dialogue of quiet certainty, of effortless possession, of commanded outcomes. Speak from the end, and let the universe rush to provide the script for the play that is already in your mind, a timeless classic. The inner speech of the wealthy is the sound of God in you, knowing its own power. Listen for that sound. Then, let it be the only voice you know. We have dissolved the ghost of scarcity. We have saturated our senses in the substance of wealth. We have reprogrammed the silent inner dialogue. Now we construct. We move from state to structure, from being to the specific, intelligent patterning through which the state expresses itself in the dimensional world. This is the engineering. This is where consciousness becomes strategy, not through effort, but through the natural, gravitational pull of an assumed identity. We are building the architecture of unearned increment. Forget labor. Forget the sweat-for-coin paradigm that is the bedrock religion of the sleeping world. That is the arithmetic of the servant. We operate in the geometry of the source. Unearned increment is the sacred principle of the universe, the yield that comes not from toil, but from position. The fruit that falls from the tree you have planted yourself within. The interest that compounds in the account of a consciousness that knows itself to be the principle. It is not luck. It is not chance. It is the structural, inevitable yield of occupying the correct psychological territory. Consider the landowner. His wealth does not increase because he endlessly tills the soil himself. It increases because he holds the deed. The sun rises, the rain falls, the city expands toward his borders, and the value of his holdings swells while he sleeps. This is the metaphor for your mind. Your consciousness is the deed. The unearned increment, the unexpected bonus, the sudden opportunity, the appreciation of an asset, the favor that flows without a ledger, is the natural result of holding the title to a wealthy state. You are not laboring in the field. You are the unquestioned owner of the field. The universe labors for you. How then do we design this architecture? It begins with a seismic shift in the concept of work. Work in the old world is the application of force against resistance to produce a result. In the new, it is the focused assumption of a result that effortlessly marshals forces. Your primary work is not doing, but assuming. Your daily labor is the meticulous maintenance of your state. Every thought aligned with the end is a brick laid in this architecture. Every feeling of fulfillment, savored in the now, is the mortar. The world you see is the construction site, and your assumption is the blueprint from which the foreman, your subconscious mind, directs all operations. Now, feel the specific psychological contours of this structure. It is built upon a foundation of radical receiving. The mind of lack is a clenched fist. It can neither give nor receive with grace. It calculates. The mind of unearned increment is an open palm, held upward. It expects the sky to fill it. This is not passivity. It is the highest form of activity, the activity of allowing the natural flow of your own expanded being. Practice receiving the small things as guarantees of the large. The perfect parking space is not luck. It is the universe whispering, "See how easy it is when you know you are provided for." The unexpected refund, the complimentary upgrade, the stranger's kindness, do not dismiss them as trivial. Receive them as sacred confirmations. Each one is a microdose of unearned increment, a proof of concept that wires your nervous system for the larger deposits. Acknowledge them. Feel the thanks for them vibrate in your chest. They are the thin end of the wedge. The architecture's central pillar is selective ignorance. You must become ruthlessly indifferent to the how. The how is the trapdoor back into the world of struggle. The how is the domain of the outer man, who sees only obstacles and logistics. Your state, once occupied, possesses its own intelligence and will engineer its own means. Your job is to hold the end with fidelity, not to engineer the machinery. When the thought arises, "But how will this possibly happen?" you must answer with the silent, inner smile of the landowner who sees a cloud on the horizon and knows it will water his fields. Your answer is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The how is an irrelevance. The plan will reveal itself, step by step, as you walk the path that is being created just before your feet. The rooms of this structure are built with commanding imaginal acts, but of a specific kind. We move beyond the simple sensory scene. we construct the backstory of effortless increase. In your mind, craft memories that never happened. Remember the time you casually invested in a friend's idea, not out of need, but from a whimsical sense of belief, and how it returned 100-fold. Remember the feeling of looking over quarterly statements that showed growth so consistent it became boring. Remember the moment you realized your capital was generating new capital while you were reading a book, or walking in the woods, or making love. These imaginal acts are not daydreams, they are history writing. They create a past consistent with your new state, and your subconscious, which cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined past and a physical one, accepts this as your truth. It then works to make the outer world conform to this inner factual history. This architecture has a climate, one of calm certainty. There is no feverish checking, no anxious waiting for signs. The stock market may fluctuate, sectors may rise and fall, but the inner climate is weathered. You are not in the market is in you. Your certainty is not about a specific stock or deal, it is about the infinite flow of your source. This calm is the magnetic core that orders the iron filings of circumstance into patterns of increase. Doubt is a tremor that collapses nascent structures. Calm certainty is the bedrock that allows for skyscrapers to be built upon it. Finally, the architecture is crowned with the principle of circulation without calculation. The old mind gives to get, a closed loop of fear disguised as generosity. The new mind circulates because it is the nature of life to flow. You tip extravagantly, not to buy karma, but because you are a fountain, not a reservoir. You invest in people and ideas that ignite you, not because the spreadsheet demands it, but because your expanded being delights in expression. This unimpeded outflow is the very thing that guarantees the unimpeded inflow. But you must not watch the return. You turn your back on it. You give because it is your nature to give. And you know, with the same certainty you know your own name, that the physics of consciousness dictate that you cannot be emptied. The unearned increment often returns from a direction you never calculated, in a form you never anticipated, but of a value that takes your breath away. You are not building a financial portfolio. You are building a psychological citadel. From its ramparts, the world of money looks like what it is, a fluid, responsive shadow play. Your unearned increment is the natural structural yield of this position. It is the interest paid on the capital of your self-concept. Stop laboring, start occupying, assume the deed, then watch with calm, detached wonder as the sun rises and the rains fall on the fields you own. The harvest is already guaranteed. It was guaranteed the moment you claimed the land. We have built the architecture. We have assumed the deed. Now we must understand the invisible forces that pull the tangible world into alignment with that assumption. This is not magic. It is a stricter, more unforgiving physics than anything taught in universities. It is the physics of magnetic resonance. Your state of consciousness is not a mood. It is a frequency, a specific and broadcasted vibration. And the law is this: a frequency attracts its perfect mirror in event, circumstance, and people. The world is not random. It is a symphonic arrangement of resonant matches. Forget networking, forget forced connections and the grinding machinery of putting yourself out there. That is the scavenger's method, the effort of one who believes they are separate from what they seek. The master's method is simpler, more profound, and utterly relentless. Become the signal, and the receivers will tune themselves to you. You do not chase money, opportunities, or influential people. You emit the frequency of the reality in which you already have them, and they are compelled by the silent mathematics of resonance to appear in your world as if by their own volition. Think of a tuning fork. Strike the fork that vibrates at 440 Hz, the note A. In a room scattered with other forks, which ones will begin to hum in sympathy? Only those also tuned to 440 Hz. They will remain still and silent. This is the law of your life. Your dominant psychological state is that pitch. Every person, every opportunity, every financial event that enters your sphere is a tuning fork. The compatible ones vibrate into your experience. The incompatible ones pass by, unnoticed and unengaging. Your so-called luck is merely your resonance encountering its match. Therefore, your entire work shifts. It is no longer about manipulating externals. It is about the ruthless refinement of your internal pitch. The frequency of massive capital is not one of hunger or hustle. It is a low, stable, deeply assured hum. It is the vibration of the deep earth, not the crackle of lightning. It feels like gravity, an invisible, undeniable force that pulls substance toward its core. To the anxious, striving frequency, this stable hum is invisible. It cannot perceive it. It is tuned to a different station, one of drama, shortage, and friction. That is why the struggling often cannot even see the opportunities that lie before the wealthy. Their tuners are incapable of receiving that channel. Your current reality is a perfect display of your past resonances. Every relationship, your bank balance, your daily frustrations and small wins, these are the forks already humming in your room. To change the display, you do not wrestle with the forks. You change your pitch. You strike a new note and hold it steadfastly until the old, dissonant vibrations die out from lack of sympathy. The new forks, the people who can help, the ideas that unlock fortunes, the seemingly chance information, will begin to appear. They were always there. You were simply, until now, tone-deaf to their existence. Let's feel the specific texture of this magnetic resonance. It is not aggressive. Magnetism does not shout, it holds. Imagine the feeling of walking into a boardroom where a critical deal is being discussed. The old frequency would be leaning forward, calculating, persuading, pushing. The magnetic frequency is different. You are relaxed. You listen more than you speak. Your inner speech is not, "I need them to agree," but, "They are recognizing the truth of my position." Your stillness becomes the powerful center of the room. Ideas are not forced. They are drawn from you, and others feel they are discovering them themselves. This is resonance in action. Your inner certainty pulls agreement, investment, and alignment from others. They leave feeling they made a brilliant choice, unaware they were simply resonating with the field you projected. This physics governs what you call chance encounters. There are no chance encounters. There are resonant collisions. When you occupy the state of the landowner, you will, coincidentally, strike up a conversation with a fellow landowner on a plane, not a desperate seeker. You will happen to pick up the one book that holds the key you needed, because your frequency pulled it from the shelf of the universe. The investor, the partner, the client, they are all tuning forks. As you stabilize your new pitch, they will begin to ring, one by one, entering your world with a feeling of destined rightness. Your role is not to create them, but to allow them by maintaining your frequency. How, then, is this frequency cultivated? Through sensory champions. A sensory champion is a single, simple, repeatable imaginal act that proves your desired state to your deepest self. It is not a grand scene. It is a minor, mundane, undeniable sensory detail that carries the complete assumption of the end. For the frequency of financial power, it might be the specific, satisfying click of a Mont Blanc pen as you sign your name on a document of consequence. It is the weight of that pen, the smoothness of the paper, the absence of any thought about the consequence, only the total focus on the sensory fact of the act itself. You practice this not for hours, but for moments, 30 seconds, 10 times a day. In each moment, you are not hoping, you are inhabiting. You are striking your tuning fork. Each repetition strengthens the signal, dampening the old, discordant notes. Your emotional landscape is the amplifier. Anxiety, fear, and longing are static that distort your broadcast. They shout over your signal. The feeling of natural possession, the thank you of a wish fulfilled, is a pure, clear signal. When the old static arises, you do not fight it. You turn your attention, gently and persistently, back to your sensory champion. You feel the click of the pen. You hear the silence of solvency. You are tuning your instrument. This is why gratitude is a magnetic superpower. Not the begging gratitude of please, but the declarative gratitude of it is done. It is the highest, clearest frequency a human can emit. It says to the universe, transmission received and acknowledged. It closes the circuit. Live in a continuous, low-grade hum of thankfulness for the wealth that is yours in consciousness, and watch as the universe scrambles to close the gap between your assumption and its manifestation. The world is an echo chamber. You are always hearing your own voice return to you in the form of people and events. Stop trying to rearrange the echoes. Change the voice. Hone your pitch to that of calm, unquestioned ownership. Then stand in the center of your life and listen. Listen for the new hum, The hum of the deal that wants to be made. The hum of the money that seeks your consciousness as its home. The hum of the alliance that will propel you forward. They are already sounding. Your resonance is the only thing required to make them audible, to make them real. You are a human tuning fork. What note are you striking? Strike the note of absolute solvency until your bones hum with it. Then wait. In the waiting, be the note. The matching frequencies have no choice. They are already on their way, moving through the fog of the world, drawn by the flawless, invisible physics of you. We have tuned the instrument of self to a new frequency. We understand the physics that draws our reality into sympathetic vibration. Now we must go deeper, beyond the broadcast, to the relationship with the very substance we command. We move from resonance to the intimacy of the instrument. Money is not an abstract force, not a distant god to be appeased. It is an instrument, the most responsive, sophisticated, and personal instrument ever devised by human consciousness. And your relationship with it must become intimate, knowing, and direct. As a master violinist knows the grain of the wood, the tension of the string, the exact pressure of the bow. Forget money as a noun. It is a verb. It is not a thing you have. It is a current you direct. It is the physical expression of value in motion. To see it as static, a number in an account, is to see a violin as a carved piece of wood. It is to miss its entire purpose, which is to translate the musician's intention into sound. Your consciousness is the musician. Money is the violin. The music is the quality of your life. Most people are not musicians. They are beggars outside the concert hall, listening to the faint echoes of a music they believe is meant for others. They are afraid to touch the instrument, convinced they will break it, or that it is not theirs to play. This ends now. You must pick up the instrument. You must feel it in your hands. This intimacy begins with a recalibration of touch. Not physical touch, but psychological touch. The old relationship was one of fear and reverence from a distance. The new relationship is one of casual, effortless mastery. Imagine the feeling of a master carpenter's hand resting on a plane of fine oak. There is no hesitation. There is knowledge in the fingertips. There is a conversation between the craftsman's will and the wood's potential. This is how you must learn to touch the idea of liquid wealth. In your mind, run your awareness over the concept. Feel its fluidity, its readiness. It is not a fortress to be defended. It is a river to be directed. Your thought is the hand that guides its flow. This intimacy requires the dissolution of a final, insidious idol, the belief in money's independent power. It has no power apart from you. A violin in a vault makes no sound. Its power lies in its capacity to be played. Money's power lies solely in its capacity to execute your vision, to materialize your assumptions. When you fear money, you are fearing your own potential energy misdirected. When you worship it, you are worshiping an empty vessel. Your task is to end both the fear and the worship, and move into a state of familiar respect, the way a pilot respects the complex controls of a jet. Not with trepidation, but with the confident knowledge that they are an extension of his will. Let's cultivate this familiarity through a specific transformative practice, the daily transfer. Not a physical transfer, but an imaginal one of profound sensory depth. Each morning, before the world intrudes, close your eyes. In your mind's eye, see the most secure, high-definition digital interface you can conceive. This is your instrument's control panel. See the fields, from, to, amount. In the from field, do not put a bank name. Put the infinite source. In the to field, put my current reality. In the amount field, do not type a number. Type all that is required for today's perfect expression. Now, initiate the transfer. Hear the soft, definitive whirring of a secure system processing a monumental sum with ease. Feel the click of confirmation. See the words, settlement final, funds available. This is not an ask. This is an administrative action from the headquarters of your being to its branch office in the world. You are not praying for money. You are moving it from the infinite to the finite, because that is your privilege and your office. This daily act builds the muscle of intimacy. It makes you the director, not the petitioner. This intimacy transforms your interactions with the physical tokens of this energy, the card, the cash, the wire receipt. Handle a $100 bill. Feel its paper, see its ink, but now see through it. See it not as a piece of paper with inherent worth, but as a congealed intention. It is a packet of frozen energy, awaiting your command to thaw and flow into a new form. When you spend, you are not losing energy. You are exchanging one form of intention, the symbol, for another, the experience or object. The master does this with awareness. The spending becomes a conscious act of blessing, a deliberate movement in the symphony. You say, inwardly, I direct this energy into this, knowing it returns to me multiplied in the form of joy, utility, or expanded beauty. This turns transaction into sacrament. The ultimate intimacy is the eradication of the middleman in your own mind. The middleman is doubt. The middleman is the calculation that stands between your desire and its fulfillment, whispering of unworthiness or impossibility. In true intimacy, there is no middleman. The musician does not confer with doubt before drawing the bow. The impulse and the action are one. You must fuse your desire and your assumption of its fulfillment so completely that no mental intermediary can slip between them. See the desire, feel the fulfillment. They are the same moment. The how is the instrument's business. Your business is the music. This intimacy breeds a new kind of courage, the courage of the unjustified expense. This is not foolish profligacy. It is the strategic, intuitive act that makes no linear sense, but is a direct order from the state of wealth. It is buying the book that calls to you without a reason. It is taking the trip when the calendar says you shouldn't. It is investing in the person whose eyes shine with an idea before the business plan is written. These acts are you playing a note so pure and high that only the future can hear its echo. They are you telling the instrument, I am not bound by the music of the past. Play this. And the instrument obeys because it knows the hand of its master. These unjustified expenses are often the secret passages to unearned increment, for they are movements in perfect pitch, with a future you have assumed but cannot yet see. Your bank account, your portfolio, your assets, these are not your wealth. They are the echo of your intimacy with the instrument. The wealth itself is the knowing in your fingertips, the certainty in your gut, the direct line you hold to the source of all expression. Tend to that intimacy. Practice the daily transfer. Handle the physical symbols with conscious intent. Play the notes of unjustified courage. The world of high finance appears to be a complex game of numbers and nerves. It is not. It is a concert hall. The most powerful people in it are not the accountants, they are the musicians. They have an intimacy with the instrument you can no longer pretend you do not possess. Pick it up. Feel the weight of it in your mind. Draw the first bow across the strings of your imagination. The music you make will not just attract money, it will become money, because in the end, they were never two different things. You are the musician. The instrument is waiting. It has been all along yours. We have become intimate with the instrument. We feel its readiness in our hands. Now, we must address the final, most cunning adversary of the state, time. Not time as hours and days, but time as a psychological tyrant. Time is the stage upon which doubt performs its longest-running show. It whispers, not yet. It implies a gap between your assumption and its manifestation that the conscious mind, in its poverty, feels obligated to fill with worry, with effort, with the anxious tracking of progress. We must dismantle this tyranny. We enter the chronology of the completed act. The wealthy mind does not live in linear time. It lives in the psychological present of its fulfilled desire. Chronological sequence, the then, the now, the later, is a convincing illusion for the senses, but it is a fiction to consciousness. In the realm of first cause, where you operate as God, everything you can imagine already exists, whole and complete. Your desire is not a seed you plant for a future harvest. It is a tree in a distant part of the garden you own. You are not waiting for it to grow. You are walking toward it. The walking feels like time, but the tree is already there. Your work is not to build the tree, but to arrive at the coordinates where it stands. Every manifestation technique that has you focused on the future is a subtle form of bondage. It reinforces the illusion of distance. Your only point of power is now. And in this now, you must construct and inhabit the feeling of the wish fulfilled so completely that it becomes your present fact. From that vantage point, the future is not something you move into. It is something that unfolds from you, like scenery being rolled out before a monarch on a promenade. The scenery appears new to your senses, but to your consciousness, it is a remembered landscape. Let us feel this new chronology. The feeling you must cultivate is retrospection in advance. It is the feeling of looking back on an event from the position of its successful completion. This is the secret syntax that collapses time. Do not say, "I will have $1 million." Feel, instead, the specific, quiet satisfaction of remembering when your net worth first crossed that threshold. What did that feel like, that Tuesday afternoon? The light was a particular gold through the window. You were wearing a specific sweater. You felt not elation, but a deep, settling quiet, a silent nod to yourself. Of course, it was always going to be this way. That feeling of a fait accompli, of a closed chapter, is the feeling that, when inhabited now, pulls the entire event into your sensory reality. You are living in the memory of a future fact. This is the alchemy. This is why the state of market dominance is not one of frantic prediction. It is one of calm remembrance. The market master does not predict trends, he recalls them. In his mind's eye, he has already seen the quarterly report showing the dominant position. He has already felt the weight of the decisive merger. He moves through the present chaos of the trading floor with the unshakable poise of one who has already read the last page of the novel. His decisions are not gambles, they are confirmations of a history he has already written. Your practice now is to become an archaeologist of your own future. In your meditative state, do not visualize your desire coming. Excavate it. Unearth it as if it were a relic from a past that is more real than this present moment. Find the artifact, the signed contract, its ink dry for years, the title deed to the property, softened at the edges from time in a drawer. The first dividend notice from a stock that has since become a blue-chip cornerstone. Hold these imagined artifacts, feel their age, smell the paper. This sensory detail of pastness is the most powerful time-collapsing agent you possess. It tells your subconscious a story it cannot resist. This is not a hope. This is a record. This reframes waiting. In the old chronology, waiting was a purgatory of uncertainty. In the new, waiting is a period of grace. It is the gentle, merciful interval in which your outer world adjusts to the sudden, seismic shift of your inner world. It is not dead time. It is construction time. And you must not peer into the construction site with the anxiety of a foreman. You must occupy the finished penthouse and enjoy the view, knowing the workers below are perfectly executing the plans you have already approved. Your indifference to the when is the final proof of your faith in the law. To fret about timing is to confess that you believe in the power of time over the power of your assumption. This demands a new relationship with evidence. The linear mind demands to see proof before it will believe. The God mind believes to see the proof. When the outer world seems slow to reflect your assumption, the old self screams, "See, it's not working." The new self smiles. It understands that the apparent lack is not a refutation, but the final, fading echo of the old state. It is the last chord of the old song ringing in the hall. Your job is to continue singing the new song, knowing the old echo must die out. The evidence you seek is not out there. The only evidence required is the reality of your feeling. If you feel rich, you are rich. The shadow world's confirmation is inevitable, but it is also irrelevant to your fact. Therefore, declare your freedom from the chronology of man. When a desire is born in you, it is already screaming to be let out of the prison of time. Your method is this: capture the feeling of its fulfillment. Saturate yourself in the sensory reality of it being done. Then, drop it. Do not carry it into your future as a wish. Leave it behind you in your past as a memory, and walk forward into a present that is now compelled to replicate that memory as an event. You are not moving toward a dream. You are moving from a completed fact. The path behind you is littered with the artifacts of your assumed victories. The path ahead is simply the world arranging itself to match the terrain you have already traversed in consciousness. Time is not a river carrying you. It is a scroll, unrolling to reveal the picture you have already painted. The act is complete. The chronology is a lie you no longer need to live. Occupy the end. Feel the finish. Then watch, with detached curiosity, as the clock hands move to catch up with the timeless truth you have decided is your own. We have collapsed time, living from the end as a remembered fact. Yet, a subtle division may remain, a phantom sense that this reality is in your head, a splendid fiction, while the real world out there is a separate, stubborn territory. This final division must be surgically removed. We move from chronology to the anatomical certainty of wealth. This is where the state graduates from a psychological posture to a biological truth. Wealth, true financial power, is not a thought you think. It is a body you wear. It is a cellular knowing, a nervous system recalibrated, a set of physical postures and autonomic responses that are the pre-existing conditions for the life you assume. The old anatomy of lack is a body of contraction. Feel it now, the slight hunch of the shoulders anticipating a burden, the shallow clavicular breath of low-grade alarm, the jaw subtly clenched, the solar plexus soft and unprotected, the eyes scanning for threat or shortage. This is the physiology of a petitioner, a scavenger. It broadcasts a signal of need, and the world obediently meets it with more to need. The new anatomy is one of expansive possession. It begins with the breath, not a taken breath, but a received one. Feel the air entering you not as something you wrestle from the atmosphere, but as a nutrient offered by a generous world, filling you from the abdomen, expanding the lower back, signaling complete safety to every cell. This is the breath of absolute solvency. It says, I am filled from an infinite source. Practice this until it is unconscious. Now the spine. The wealthy spine is not stiff with the rigidity of effort. It is elongated, supple, and supported, as if a gentle, magnetic cord is lifting the crown of your head toward the sky, while your weight settles effortlessly through your sit bones or feet. It is the posture of one who is upholded, not one who is struggling to hold themselves up. This vertical alignment is not arrogance, it is the physical expression of inherent support. It allows energy, life, ideas, and yes, financial currents to flow through you without obstruction. Let's move to the hands. Observe a person counting change, gripping their wallet. The fingers are tight, the energy is clinging, defensive. Now, imagine the hand that signs a check for a sum that is meaningless to its owner. The fingers are relaxed. The grip on the pen is firm but effortless. The wrist is loose. The gesture is one of release, not clutch. This is the hand of liquid wealth. It does not cling to energy. It directs it with a flick. Practice this feeling. Let your hands rest open on your thighs, palms slightly up, in a gesture of receiving and releasing with equal ease. The face, the anatomy of certainty, relaxes the muscles between the brows. It softens the eyes. The gaze is not intense and searching. It is relaxed and receiving. It does not scrutinize the world for cost. It appreciates it for texture. This face wears the faint, uncontrived hint of a smile not born of circumstance, but of an underlying, unchanging fact. It is the face of one who knows a wonderful secret. The world sees this face and responds to its unspoken authority. This anatomical shift must become so ingrained it operates below the level of thought. You do not think your way into walking with the posture of ownership. You walk that way until thinking catches up. This is embodiment. It is the conscious use of the body to persuade the subconscious of a new truth. Your body is your most obedient servant. It will believe whatever you command it to do consistently. Command it to breathe the breath of abundance. Command it to assume the posture of support. Command your hands to open. Command your face to soften in knowing. Now, the most critical organ, the gut. The enteric nervous system, the second brain, is the seat of visceral knowing. The feeling of butterflies or a knot is the anatomy of doubt. The feeling of a warm, solid, quiet ball of certainty in the solar plexus is the anatomy of wealth. This is not metaphor. This is literal. You cultivate this by, in moments of doubt, placing your hand on your abdomen and breathing deeply into that space, implanting the feeling tone of a wish fulfilled. Imagine a golden heavy light settling there, a core of unassailable stability. This center does not ask questions. It knows. When you stand to negotiate, to invest, to decide, your power comes not from your arguing mind, but from this deep, visceral center of knowing. This is the center of unshakable contract. From here, all agreements are made. This anatomical certainty rewrites your relationship with environment. Walk into a luxury boutique with the body of lack, the shallow breath, the scanning eyes, the tense shoulders, and the staff will sense a tourist, a looker. Walk in with the body of the owner, the deep breath, the relaxed gaze, the spine of inherent support, and they will respond to you as if you already own the place. Because, in the only reality that matters, you do. The environment is not evaluating you. You are evaluating it from the silent benchmark of your own embodied assumption. Your morning ritual must now include not just mental rehearsal, but physical rehearsal. Stand. Breathe the solvency breath. Align the spine of ownership. Relax the hands of direction. Soften the face of knowing. Anchor the gut with the weight of certainty. Walk across the room as if the floor is your estate. Sit in your chair as if it is your throne. These are not fantasies, they are drills. You are training your instrument, the body, to play the only song worthy of it, the song of its own limitless possession. The shadow world of finance is a world of physical tells. The tremble in a voice on an earnings call, the sweat on a palm during a handshake, the quickened pulse before a bid. These are the anatomies of doubt, and they are smelled like blood in water. Your anatomical certainty is your ultimate armor and your most persuasive weapon. It communicates before you speak. It says, I cannot be moved because I am already complete. Wealth is not deposited first in your account. It is deposited in your cells. It is a chemistry of calm assurance, a neural pathway of expected fulfillment, a muscular set of relaxed command. Become, in your very flesh and bone, the person for whom financial power is a biological trait, as natural as the color of your eyes. Then, go into the world. The world does not see your thoughts. It reads your body. And your body now tells the only story that matters, the story of a life that is already and utterly its own source. The anatomy is set. The body has become a monument to certainty. Now we address the medium through which the command flows from that certainty into the world of form. We move from the solidity of the vessel to the clarity of the current. This is the lucidity of the clear channel. Between your assumption and its manifestation lies a field, your consciousness. This field must be rendered transparent, a frictionless vacuum through which desire passes without distortion, delay, or dilution. Most lives are not lived, they are buffered. The signal of intention is weakened by static. The endless mental commentary, the second-guessing, the nostalgic regrets, the anxious future-tripping. This noise is not background, it is interference. It scatters your power. The wealthy mind is not necessarily a smarter mind, it is a quieter one. It is a mind that has achieved lucidity. Imagine a mountain lake at dawn. Its surface is perfectly still. It reflects the sky, the peaks, the surrounding pines with flawless accuracy. This lake is your consciousness in a state of lucidity. Every assumption you drop into it, the assumption of a deal closed, of a debt dissolved, of a sum received, sinks immediately to its depths without ripple. And the world above, the reflective surface, must rearrange itself to mirror that new sunken reality. Now imagine that same lake in a storm. The wind, doubt, churns the surface. Debris from the shore, past failures, others' opinions, floats on it. The reflection is shattered, distorted. You could drop a diamond of pure intention into that water, and its effect would be lost in the chaos. The result? A muddied, delayed, or confused manifestation. Your work is not to drop bigger diamonds, but to calm the waters. This lucidity is achieved through mental hygiene, a discipline more critical than any financial spreadsheet. It begins with the ruthless curation of your inner dialogue. We have spoken of inner speech. Now we speak of the silence between the words. That silence is your channel's bandwidth. You must guard it with the ferocity of a sovereign protecting a border. The gossip, the complaint, the rehashing of slights, the consumption of news that screams of a world in lack, these are not harmless pastimes. They are pollutants. They are grains of sand tossed into the delicate mechanism of your transmission. Each one creates a minute friction, a tiny drain on the voltage of your assumption. You must become a master of selective focus. The world will always present evidence contrary to your assumption. The market dips. A check is delayed. An unexpected bill arrives. The mind untrained in lucidity will seize upon these as proof and amplify them, sending a counter-signal of lack into the field, muddling the waters. The mind in lucidity observes these events with the detached curiosity of a scientist noting an anomalous reading. It does not grant them emotional weight. It does not argue with them. It simply turns its gaze, gently and persistently, back to the inner screen where its assumption plays out as fact. It says internally, interesting, and yet my reality is one of solvency and flow. It refuses to be drawn into the storm. The practical tool for this is the pivot. When you catch yourself in a stream of lack-based thought, Worrying about money, rehearsing a past loss, envying another's gain, you do not fight it. Fighting is engagement, and engagement is energy given to the storm. Instead, you pivot. You change the subject internally. You might focus intensely on the sensory details of your immediate environment. The grain of the wood on your desk, the precise temperature of the air on your skin, the rhythm of your own breath. This grounds you in the now, where your power resides. Or you might pivot directly to the sensory champion of your fulfilled desire, the click of the pen, the silence of the dashboard, the weight of the deed in your hand. The key is the gentleness and immediacy of the shift. You are not a warrior battling thoughts, you are a curator, redirecting the exhibition. This lucidity creates a phenomenon of effortless magnetism. When your inner channel is clear, your desires manifest with a speed and elegance that seems supernatural. It is not. It is simply physics. A clear channel offers no resistance. An idea for wealth, held in a lucid mind, shoots like a photon to its target. Opportunities coalesce. People appear who are necessary to the plan. Resources shift. It feels like grace, but it is the mechanical result of a signal finally being broadcast at full strength. The luck of the wealthy is often just their lucidity. They are not generating more power than you. They are wasting less of it on internal noise. Your environment must support this lucidity. This is not about asceticism. It is about intentional resonance. The music you listen to, the art you view, the spaces you inhabit, do they resonate with the frequency of clarity and order, or with chaos and desperation? A cluttered, chaotic physical space is often the manifestation of a cluttered, chaotic mental space. To cultivate the inner clear channel, you may need to first clear the outer one. Create a space of order, beauty, and silence where your mind can practice its lucidity. This is not frivolous. It is foundational engineering for the transmission of high-stakes assumptions. Ultimately, the lucidity of the clear channel is the experience of mental solvency. Just as financial solvency means your assets effortlessly cover your liabilities, mental solvency means your positive, life-affirming assumptions so outweigh your doubts that the doubts are rendered fiscally inert. They are noise without consequence. You are no longer in debt to fear. Your mental resources are always in the black. From this position of surplus, you can spend your focused attention on any desire and know the account will never be depleted. Become the still lake. Let the storms of the world pass over you without stirring your depths. Your only action is to drop in perfect silence the flawless jewel of your assumption into the clear, cold depths of your own self. Then wait in perfect trust for the entire surface world to rearrange itself into the perfect picture of that jewel. The reflection is not your concern. The clarity of the water is your only task. Tend to it, protect it, for in its lucidity lies the instantaneous translation of thought into fact. The channel is you. Clear it, and the world has no choice but to show you the perfect image of your own quiet mind.